Good morning, everyone. Today we will be playing Devoted Devastation asterisk in Kano Tryharding Modern. So, quick explanation here. I did not have all the cards for this list, and so there are some substitutions. I do not have Noble Hierarchs, so I have Elvish Mystics instead, which is not the same thing because Elvish. I maxed out on birds. This was like 3 birds, 4 Elvish or 4 Noble Hierarchs. I have 4 birds and 3 Elvish Mystics, and I got rid of Noble Hierarchs because I just couldn't afford them. And because we're lacking on blue mana, I adjusted the mana base a little bit from the original list. I also did not have 4 Giver of Runes, so I replaced 1 Giver of Runes with an Arboreal Grazer, and the other with a Blossoming Defense. Now, Blossoming Defense has actually been seeing play in this deck list as a singleton, so I felt like that was a fair substitution. It does kind of the same thing as Giver of Runes, though not to the same power level. And then, of course, the asterisk portion of this deck, I had to replace Finale of Devastation with Chord of Calling. So, if you're wondering what the difference is, Finale is double green, X, and a sorcery without Convoke that can get from your deck or library or graveyard. But if X is 10 or more on Finale, it gives all of your creatures +10/+10, like haste and trample or something like that. Something ridiculous. This, on the other hand, is instant speed, has Convoke, is triple green X, and only searches your library. It's also like $7 cheaper, so it does effectively the same thing. Searching my graveyard might be relevant in the event that I'm not allowed to search my library like Ashiok, but unfortunately I do not have the capital right now to play Finale of Devastation. However, the deck still functions just fine. And if you don't know the combo is to get Vizier of Remedies and Devoted Druid to give you infinite green mana, and then you can win the game one of several ways. You can either like Aladmarie's Call, get Walking Ballista, cast an infinitely large Walking Ballista. You can play Stoneforge Mystic, tutor up Viridian Longbow, equip Viridian Longbow to Devoted Druid and ping your opponent to death. You can play Shalai, activate Shalai infinite times, and kill your opponent with an infinitely big team. You got options. So, sideboard just to shore up some different matchups, and Teferi to make this deck extra interactive. And let's go ahead and play a match. Alright, round 1, here we go. Alright, well, we have enough tutor pieces we can find everything. We will keep. Okay, so opponent starts Verdant Catacombs. Passes, we draw. Breeding Pool. Alright, play Windswept Heath. Fetch Temple Garden. Play Elvish Mystic. Pass the turn. Opponent gets a Blood Crypt tapped. Alright, they're looking like they're regular Jund. They Thoughtseize us. They could take an Aladmarie's Call if they wanted to. They could also take Shalai if they're worried about her. Shalai is one of those things that she's in the deck as a protection piece because she gives everything hexproof. Opponent takes an Aladmarie's Call. Okay. We draw birds. So play Breeding Pool untapped. Play birds. Okay. Opponent cracks Verdant Catacombs. Gets an Overgrown Tomb untapped. We pass. His opponent might be Jund to Death Shadow, judging by the end step shock. Okay, they play Tarmogoyf. Alright, so we're going to Aladmarie's Call for Devoted Druid. Oh, okay. Yeah, we still do. So, get ourselves Devoted Druid. They kill our dork. I only have 2 cards left in hand, and we're going to have at least 1 level of protection here. Okay, we get a Stoneforge Mystic. Play Misty. Crack Misty. Get a Forest. Play Shalai. Pass the turn. Opponent plays Wrenn and 6. Picks up a Verdant Catacombs. Plays it. Cracks it. for a tapped Shockland and Fatal Pushes Shalai. Okay, they get in for 4, we go to 10. We draw a Vizier of Remedies. So if I play Vizier, I do not have enough creatures to Chord. So we're going to play Devoted Druid and play Stoneforge Mystic, tutoring up Verdian Longbow. Alright, opponent's turn. Hopefully they don't have removal for Devoted Druid. And they pick up Verdant Catacombs. They play Verdant Catacombs. They play Scavenging Ooze. They attack for 4, no blocks, we'll go to 6. They only have 1 card in hand, so they can't have Double Bolt. And if they had Double Bolt, they would probably be throwing it at Devoted Druid. Okay, so play Vizier. Make infinite mana. I really don't like Moto's interface for this, because sometimes I have to do this multiple times. Alright, opponent concedes. They didn't even... Well, they know we have a Verdian Longbow, so they're going to save themselves a lot of pings. Okay, so our opponent is playing Jund to Death Shadow, to the best of my knowledge. So in that case, we probably want Celestial Purge, and kind of want something like Lightning Greaves or Veil of Summer. Teferi might be... like, Teferi can protect us on our turn, but Teferi might be a little slow. So bring in Celestial Purge, bring in 2 Paths. Forge Tender might be okay, because our opponent could have things like Anger of the Gods. I'm just going to run it back, see what happens. Alright, this hand's pretty slow, and Thoughtseizable. This hand I can work with. I'll keep. I'll put back a Elvish Mystic. And opponent starts. Verdant Catacombs, fetch Blood Crypt, Shock, and Inquisition. They can take anything out of our hand they want. They take a Ladmurray's Call. Okay. We untap. We draw Arboreal Grazer. So play Windswept Heath, crack Windswept Heath, get a Temple Garden. Untapped. Now do we play Elvish Mystic or do we play Arboreal Grazer? I'm gonna go with the Mystic. And the Mystic is higher upside if it lives. We haven't drawn an additional land yet. Okay, opponent plays Tarmogoyf. We untap. We draw another Temple Garden. So... Shock Temple Garden. Play Stoneforge. Stoneforge this time is gonna get Batterskull. Play Arboreal Grazer. Put Misty Rainforest into play. And pass. Opponent plays a Blackcleave Cliffs. Fatal pushes Stoneforge. Gets in for 4. No blocks. We go to 11. Untap. We draw Devoted Druid. So, crack Misty. Get a Forest. Play Devoted Druid. Pass. Okay, opponent Inquisitions. So we're going to Chord for 1, because that's the only card in our hand they could take. If we get a Mana Dork, we can cast Batterskull. If we get Giver of Runes, we can protect our board and block for a long time. I kind of like the Mana Dork. We'll get Birds. This is bad if my opponent has a Thoughtseize or Fatal Push. Of course, Fatal Push hitting our Devoted Druid was something I kind of anticipated was going to happen. And it's not like we were using our Creature Tutor in order to cast, what's it called? Like, we weren't using our Creature Tutor to go get Vizier of Remedies, so... Play Batterskull, pass the turn. Okay, opponent plays Plague Engineer. They can name Bird or Elf if they want to get rid of our Elves. Honestly, this Grazer wielding a Batterskull, it's probably going to be pretty sweet. Or the Bird, actually. Because the Bird becomes a 4/5 flyer. They name human? Oh, for Vizier of Remedies. Okay, that makes sense. And they pass. We draw another chord. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we can chord for a Shalai in response to removal. Yeah, I think we just do that. We can even block and chump with one of the Mana Dorks, or chump with Arboreal Grazer. Okay, so opponent gets an Overgrown Tomb. They're going to Assassin's Trophy, Batterskull. That's pretty bad. We can still chord for Shalai, and Shalai I think only says creatures you control, not the permanents they're attached to. Alright, well this doesn't change our chord mana. Let me check Shalai really quick. Yeah, you, planeswalkers you control, and other creatures you control have hexproof. Okay. So, Batterskull down, get a planes. But it goes to combat, attacks for 5. Chump, and chord for Shalai. Almost didn't tap Arboreal Grazer there, that would have been really bad. Okay. Oh, we could get Skoos. Skoos would gain us life. Eventually get big enough to deal with Tarmogoyf. I think Shalai is probably just better. At least right now. We can get Scavenging Ooze off of Aladmary's Call here. So play Scavenging Ooze. And attack for 3 in the air. Okay, opponent goes to 13, and we pass. I don't want to play out Elvish Mystic because I want to be able to eat 2 things with Skoos this turn. Okay, opponent attacks for 5. Let's take a look, shall we? If we eat Batterskull, that's the only artifact in the grave, we can shrink that to a 4/5. And there's 2 creatures in the grave, 3 creatures in the grave. There is 2 sorceries, 3 lands, a number of instants. Okay. We don't have a way to get Batterskull back out of the graveyard, so we will be eating Batterskull. So we block with Elvish Mystic, and we're gonna eat... you know what, we're gonna start by eating Grazer. Eat Batterskull. Untap. We draw Chord. Let's see, what could we chord? Probably Giver of Runes would be best. So play Elvish Mystic, because it's mana neutral for Chord. And now we can use just our creatures to... Or we can use... We have enough mana to chord for Giver. Go to combat. Attack for 3 in the air. Pass the turn. Okay. But it draws and plays a tap land. And they concede. Alright. Devoted Devastation combo. In this case, probably Devoted Chord. Taking down Jund or Jund Death Shadow, not sure which one that is. Probably just regular Jund, actually. I'll see you guys in round 2. Alright. Round 2, here we go. Moto is lagging. Alright, we'll play first. Not a hand I can keep. Mulligan. It's close. But I still can't keep it. I gotta go to 5. Alright, this I can work with. We'll keep. We're gonna put back Viridian Longbow and Giver of Runes. Start Misty, crack Misty, get a Temple Garden, and we will play the fancy foil Birds of Paradise I got out of a treasure chest. Pass the turn. Really like the art. Okay, opponent cycles Street Wraith, cycles another Street Wraith, plays Marsh Flats, cracks it. So this one's probably Death Shadow. Exiles Misty Rainforest. Okay, we draw Walking Ballista, so play Gavany, Stoneforge, We'll get Batterskull. Play birds. Pass the turn. Opponent thought seizes us, probably to take Batterskull. They do. They see that we're holding a Walking Ballista. And we draw Misty. So play Misty. We can just play Ballista X2, or we can activate Gavany. I think we play Ballista X2. Then we'll attack for 1 and fetch a Breeding Pool tapped. Okay, opponent clings to dust Batterskull. They're really trying to hit that second land, and they don't, so they concede. Well then. Opponent had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 draws to hit a second land, and they didn't do it. I'm not going to knock my opponent for keeping a hand like that. I probably would have. Okay, so versus Death Shadow. What do we want? Time Raveler is both good and bad. Unsummoning a delve threat and preventing them from casting counterspells is pretty good. The thing is, most of their counterspells are only for 1 extra mana unless they already have a threat. I think it's better to drop to fairies for Veils. It's cheaper, it's easier to cast Veil, and they have a lot of hand hate and removal. And I think we want some number of paths. I'm going to drop Arboreal Grazer for a path, and I'm going to drop... You know what? I'm just going to keep it like this. I'm just going to have the 1 path, I think. It's possible we might want Celestial Purge or Burnt and Forge Tender if they're Grixis, but we don't know. They could be Sultai or something stupid like that. We could also have Choke. We might want Choke, but I've got a feeling that Choke is just going to get ripped out of our hand every single time we have it, unless we top deck it. Alright, opponent chooses to play first. Yeah, I think this hand's capable. We'll keep. These are my replacements for Horizon Canopy, green being our more important color. Okay, opponent Inquisitions. If they want to slow us down the most, they take birds, but if they have removal for birds and don't want us to draw any cards, they're going to take Stoneforge. Okay, they take Stoneforge. We draw Vizier of Remedies, so we're going to start Waterlogged Grove. Birds. So Postmortem Lunge is actually a really, really good card in this deck. If we assemble the combo, we can Postmortem Lunge back Stoneforge Mystic and go get Viridian Longbow and kill our opponent that way. It also can just get back one of the combo pieces with haste. Okay, opponent Thought Scours themselves, plays a Swamp, and Thoughtseize. They take a Ladmaris Call, which was arguably our best card right there. I'm tempted to Postmortem Lunge right now and get Batterskull, but we'd be a ways off of actually casting it. It still might be the thing to do. Let me think. So we could play Vizier of Remedies directly into removal. We could crack one of our sack lands, but I don't really want to do that. So, play Nurturing Peatland. We will Postmortem Lunge Stoneforge Mystic. Go and get a Batterskull. Go to combat, get in for 1. Exile Stoneforge. Okay. Opponent plays a Watery Grave untapped. Thought Scours themselves. Plays a Death Shadow. And delves out a big threat. Alright, Gurmag Angler. We untap. We draw birds. So, play Windswept Heath. Fetch with Windswept Heath. And let's get a Plains. Okay. So we want to play Vizier and we want to play Birds this turn. There's no way we can do all of that and crack one of our sack lands. Okay, well, play Birds. Play Vizier. Pass the turn. Okay, plays Flooded Strand, cracks it, gets a regular island. It could just cling to dust here to draw a card. Snapcaster Mage for probably Thoughtseize. Okay, they can take Batterskull out of our hand, and they do. They attack us for 9, no blocks. Untap. We draw Eladmary's Call. So, play Misty, crack it, get a forest. We are going to try and just cast this here. Opponent probably has Stubborn Denial, unless they took them all out. If my opponent has Fatal Push, we're in a much worse place. Or like Dismember, or any of that. Looks like they might just be Dimir Death Shadow. Okay, so we're going to get Devoted Druid. And then we're going to play Devoted Druid. We're going to be doing a lot of chumping with birds. Opponent shouldn't have a counterspell that can hit Devoted Druid here. But if my opponent has a Fatal Push, Dismember, creature removal of some sort, we are in trouble. Because we have to block both of the large creatures this turn. So we're kind of hoping our birds can do that. We're in a little bit of a sticky spot. I'm glad we got game 1. Okay. That's all we can do. We'll have... Okay, so best case scenario, we block here, we untap, we have infinite mana, and we have 3 draws to hit something that can win us the game. We could hit a Stoneforge, we could hit a Chord, we could hit Shalai. Trying to think of what else we could hit. Well, let's see what our opponent can do. My luck is they would attack with Death Shadow Gurmag Angler. Have no removal, and then... Or they would attack with everything and then bump in the night us. It's the mono black lava spike. Okay. Block here. Take 2, go to 1. I don't think they can give trample, because that's a red or green thing. They basically just have to have removal. Alright, well, we're not dead. Yep, they got removal. And that will do it. Let's see what we would have drawn. And Veil of Summer wouldn't have done it. So we concede. We were close. We almost had it. Okay. So opponent is just Dimir. In that case, I actually kind of want Choke. I don't know what I would take out for Choke, though. Postmortem Lunge actually seems kind of bad. Let's take out Postmortem Lunge and bring in Choke. We can also bring in Lightning Greaves, I think, over a Veil of Summer. I'm glad we didn't bring in Forge Tender or Firewalker or anything like that. We'll keep the single path and run it back like this. So if our opponent's greedy with their mana base, as Death Shadow is encouraged to be, and we get a Choke, we're in a good place. This hand, not super great. I'm... like, they almost certainly have Hand Hate, but like... So they'll take Eladmary's Call. I don't want a mulligan, though. Yeah, there are hands of 6 that we could have that are way worse than this. So we do have a redundant Vizier in our hand. So as long as my opponent doesn't have like Fetch Shock Thoughtseize Surgical, we should be fine. His opponent is considering mulliganing. Excuse me. My voice doesn't always work this early in the morning. Opponent mulligans to 6. They're not snap keeping the 6, so they are considering mulliganing to 5. Okay, they keep 6. So, play Windswept Teeth, fetch Temple Garden, shock, play Birds. We are holding our Singleton Island if we draw Choke, by the way, so we need to be aware of that. Hopefully our opponent starts with a like cantrip hand, where they just like cycle, land, fetch, cling, or something like that. Okay, opponent starts Flooded Strand. Fetches a probably Watery Grave. Okay, untapped. Opts. Okay, it is a cantrip hand to start. And not a powerful one at that. Okay, we draw Stoneforge Mystic. So, play Stoneforge Mystic. We're going to tutor up Lightning Greaves, which should hopefully have our opponent playing scared. And if they don't have another land and they can only Inquisition us, they can only take Lightning Greaves, and we'll be able to play Batterskull off of Stoneforge. The only way this hand would be better right now is if one of these Viziers was Veil of Summer. We will use Stoneforge Mystic, get Lightning Greaves, Breeding Pool tapped, pass the turn. Because if we could hold up Veil of Summer with this setup, it'd be nuts. Also, Lightning Greaves, one of the best flavor texts. Not on this version, but on, I think, a different version. It's like, the lightning hit the hillside became slag, the slag became iron, and the iron became Greaves. The lightning never left. I really, really like the flavor text on Lightning Greaves. Okay, we untap. We draw Viridian Longbow. Alright. We're going to play Viridian Longbow. And we're just going to pass and hold up, play Batterskull. Opponent Thought Scours us. Okay. If you're playing a deck with Thought Scour and the deck is set up to Thought Scour itself, you should almost never Thought Scour your opponent. There, it kind of makes sense because of Cling to Dust, but they already had a target for Cling to Dust. So now they have like less cards in their grave than if they were trying to hit a threat kind of a deal. I know it's tempting to Thought Scour your opponent when you're trying to hit a land because you don't want to miss any draws, but at the same time, it's not right. Okay? Activate Stoneforge. Play Batterskull. Untap. We draw another Stoneforge, which at this point is pretty superfluous. Alright, go to combat. Attack for 4. If my opponent can cycle a Street Wraith, they can trade. If they can lose more life than that, they can actually kill the Germ token. So we make Death Shadow really big. I'm tempted to Aladmari's Call and just get another Mana Dork, but we'll wait. See if our opponent taps out. Opponent plays an island. You're going to start with an Inquisition. So we can call or we can put Greaves onto the battlefield here, and I think putting Greaves onto the battlefield is better. Okay. They probably take Aladmari's Call because we do have 2 copies of Vizier. Yep. It's okay, it was kind of awkward to cast anyway. Opponent attacks for 6. Does not attack. Interesting. Passes. We draw Aladmari's Call. Alright. Play Vizier. Opponent should not have a counterspell that can hit that. But they might be able to kill it in response to us equipping Lightning Greaves to it. Alright. No attacks. Pass the turn. All we need is a land or a Devoted Druid. Opponent is going to full price dismember the Germ token. Okay. I don't know if that was right, but it does remove our biggest threat. They play a Polluted Delta. They go to combat. I am going to chump with Stoneforge. I know that makes a potential Chord much smaller, but I can't take 6 damage here right now. Okay, we untap. Draw Windswept Teeth. Play Windswept Teeth. Crack it. Get a Forest. Aladmari's Call. We are going to just go for the combo here. Like, we have a Viridian Longbow on board. The problem is we have to move Greaves over. So if my opponent has 2 removal spells, we're going to get absolutely blown out here. But I don't really see a reason not to do this or not to try this, especially considering my opponent has been... They've played too many lands, They have no other threats. Like, we still have a lot of life. They do have Drown in the lock. Okay. In that case, I'm going to attack them for 2 and hit them to 5. They shouldn't be able to untap their creature. I guess I'm offering to trade with a Snapcaster, but we might actually win this with damage. Opponent plays another Death Shadow. That's a big problem. Fetches with Polluted Delta, gets a basic Swamp. Attacks for 9. We untap. Draw Chord. We can Chord for Devoted Druid, but our opponent probably has a Stubborn Denial. Yeah, I think we do it. So we're going to make a bunch of mana. We could pick up and replay Batterskull, but if our opponent attacks into that, we're still dead. I guess we wouldn't technically be dead if we had an untapped Devoted Druid to block as well. But that's a pretty anemic combo. I don't know why my opponent hasn't auto-yielded to this yet. Okay, there we go. So we have to make a bunch of mana first. Okay. Pick up Batterskull. Cast Batterskull. Living Weapon. Okay, move Greaves over again, so we can equip. Opponent has Snapcaster for Drown. I don't know why they didn't try to disrupt the combo sooner then. It's too bad we don't have a Scooze to exile our whole grave in response. Okay, is there anything we can do about this? No. Okay. Opponent goes to combat, attacks. And we have to block. We can ping and kill Snapcaster. We go to 7. Oh, we're really close. Death Shadow number 3. Well, in that case, it was correct to ping our opponent's face. If we had 1 more mana, we could equip Birds and kill our opponent. We could play Vizier, boots it up, attack our opponent down to 2. If we didn't have to tap a creature, if we had 1 more mana, we could play Vizier and Stoneforge and just block. The problem is each of these are lethal. There's nothing left in our deck for Stoneforge to get. I mean, I guess we could play Stoneforge and Vizier, and then just block, and block. It's not great, though. We can't play Stoneforge and equip... Longbow. Shalai would be a lethal threat if she stuck around, but the problem is we're going to take way more than lethal damage prior to that. Alright, so we're going to do the only thing that we can do. Play Stoneforge. Shuffle our deck. Okay, we technically have an out. That out is we have to top deck Devoted Druid, and our opponent can't have any removal or counterspell. Because if we top deck Devoted Druid, we could play Devoted Druid, equip Lightning Greaves to it, make 2 mana, play Vizier, make 1,000,000 mana, move Boots, equip Longbow, kill our opponent. But it has to be exactly Devoted Druid, and we've already used 2. So it's a 2 in 39 chance, which means we have to hold this Vizier. Alright, pass the turn. It's the only way we win. But I have identified the line. Cling to Dust, they draw an additional card. Oh, if we draw a land, and my opponent loses 1 life for any reason, we could also play and boots up Shalai. Okay, they mill themselves. They go to combat. Alright, triple chump. Alright, if we top deck a land or Devoted Druid, our opponent loses now. Doesn't matter which card they take. Land or Devoted Druid. Okay, they take Shalai. Alright, now it's just Devoted Druid because they're delving out a threat. I don't think there's anything else that does it. Come on, Devoted Druid. Devoted Druid. Giver. Oh. If we had one more white mana, Giver would have been lethal too. Because we could play Vizier, play Giver, boots Giver, give Vizier protection from black, then boots Vizier and kill our opponent. We are so close. Alright. Give our opponent the opportunity to punt. Man. If only I had fetched the other Temple Garden. Come on, F6 through combat. If your only plan is your opponent being bad, it's a bad plan. Well, damn. We're really close. There was a lot of things that won us the game there. So, I'll see you guys in round 3. We are getting subscribers on YouTube at an unprecedented rate. I've had 8 in the last 2 days, and another 2 at least today, which is pretty nuts, actually. Gotta get on that 200 sub special. Alright, we'll play first. This hand is really slow, but we do have Teferis. I'm gonna keep, just because we have the right mana and lands for this. I'm gonna start Breeding Pool tapped. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent starts Bloodstained Mire. Passes. We draw Chord. So play Razor Verge Thicket, pass the turn. Okay, opponent cracks Bloodstained Mire for a swamp. And clings it. So this looks like it might be another Death Shadow list. So we're probably going to Aladmary's Call for Devoted Druid. And I think that last game showed me that I'm going to be a little bit greedier with my mana base from now on. Bloodghast. Bloodghast is not the card I thought they were going to play. So Aladmary's Call, get Devoted Druid, let Bloodghast resolve. Untap. Draw Teferi Time Raveler number 3. Alright, we'll fetch Shock Temple Garden. Play Time Raveler, and unsummon Bloodghast. Okay, we get an Elvish Mystic. Pass the turn. Sacred Foundry untap. This could be a very weird Dredge variant. I've seen Mardu Dredge before with Silver Smote Ghouls, which is why the like gain 3 life thing is a thing. Alright, well we have the combo, so play Devoted Druid. Play Elvish Mystic. Pass the turn. Opponent has to remove Devoted Druid. Play a Godless Shrine untapped. I mean, these are the colors of removal. So, Smallpox. Okay. We will discard Teferi. Sack Elvish Mystic. Sack Razor Verge Thicket. Opponent sacks Sacred Foundry. We untap, we draw another Chord. Play Vizier. Make a bunch of mana. We need to be able to Chord twice in a row. For 4, so we need 14 mana at the very minimum. Come on, Moto. This is going to take a while. I'm going to stop at 20. Okay, Chord for 4. Get Shalai. Chord for 2. Get Stoneforge. Stoneforge, get Viridian Longbow. Play Longbow. Equip Longbow. Ping our opponent. Untap. Oops. Ping our opponent. Untap. Repeat. Ad nauseum. Opponent's making us play this out. If you see the kill condition, you should make them play it out unless you think time is really going to be a factor on Moto and you really want to win, but that's considered bad manners. I understand playing it out when it's a virtual win and not an actual win. So, like, if your opponent's looping Kitchen Finks to gain infinite life, that's fine, because that doesn't actually win the game. But, like, if your opponent's pinging you to death with a Viridian Longbow, you should probably concede. But we got there. Okay. So, here's the thing. Our opponent is playing Smallpox, and we're playing Mana Dorks, which is really bad. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut Teferi entirely. Postmortem Lunge is going to stay in. Grazer is going to go out. And I'm going to bring in Paths, because pathing my own creature is quite reasonable in a situation like this. I'm going to drop 2 Elvish Mystics, and I'm going to bring in Veil of Summer. And we're going to try like that. Man, Smallpox. Good lord. I love Smallpox, but I don't like it being cast against me, I'll tell you that much. Cannot keep this hand, so let's mulligan. I can't keep a one-lander versus the deck playing Smallpox on the play? That's suicide. We're gonna mulligan. Okay, I can work with this. We'll keep. Put back Batterskull, and I guess we put back Viridian Longbow. Okay. Opponent starts Blood Crypt untapped. Inquisition. Probably takes Devoted Druid. They take Veil of Summer. Interesting. We draw birds. Alright. I'm gonna do it. Smallpox me and just fuck my shit up. Sorry. Oh, not Smallpox. Unless my opponent Manamorphoses into Smallpox, in which case, why? Oh no, what's happening? Collective Brutality. They're going to Duress and take Path. They discarded Silver Smote Ghoul. Alright. I like it. I like Lightning Helix, Smiting Helix. I like the shenanigans that are happening. So we'll play Misty Rainforest, fetch, get a Temple Garden untapped. Play Devoted Druid. Yeah, because this... Yeah, Smiting Helix, Lightning Helix, Creeping Chill, Dredge, and Smallpox is like... I think that's fantastic. Okay, opponent plays Lily. Makes a sack. Untap. Draw Vizier. Play Windswept Teeth. Play Vizier. Pass the turn. We're now Hellbent, so Lily is not as big of a problem. If my opponent plays something that can block, though, that's annoying. Okay, opponent plays a tap land. Collective Brutality. Becoming Hellbent. We untap. We draw Walking Ballista. Play Walking Ballista. Pass the turn. I really like my opponent's deck. They play a Marsh Flats. They tick up Lily. Okay, they pass. We're going to fetch up another Temple Garden. Untap. Draw Giver of Runes. So play Giver. Go to combat. Attack Lily. Down to 2. It's kind of an awkward situation that's happening right now. But odds are my opponent is going to draw away to gain 3 life. If my opponent draws Lightning Helix, Smiting Helix, Creeping Chill, Cling to Dust, it's going to be a bad time. Opponent's going to make us sack. Sack Giver. Does my opponent have a second Liliana? Ashiok. Alright, well then. That is a problem. But it's not like the end of the game. Pretty much anything we draw here is good. Like, even this is okay. Play Vizier. Go to combat. We do have to attack Ashiok because we have creature tutors and such in the deck. So opponent untaps. Mills us. Oh, they mill themselves. Okay, we draw Gavany Township. They have a card in hand, so go to combat. Attack Ashiok, attack our opponent. Put a counter on Ballista. Okay, Ashiok down, opponent takes 2. I'm not going to F6 because I have a Walking Ballista. Anger of the Gods. Well, ping my opponent. Ping my opponent. Okay, opponent exiles a Vizier. Plays a land. We untap and draw Blossoming Defense, which would have been awesome last turn. Opponent, Sorin Imperious Bloodlord. They up him. Okay, we draw Misty Rainforest. Play Misty, pass the turn. Kind of wish I was playing a Dryad Arbor right now, but I also think that would be really bad. Okay, they up Sorin again. Fetch, get a forest. Untap. We get a Vizier. So play Vizier. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent untaps. Plays a Bloodstained Mire. Upticks Sorin. Cracks Bloodstained Mire. Gets a Godless Shrine tapped. We untap. We draw Chord. So we can Chord for Shalai. No, we can't. We're one off. We can Chord for a 2-drop. We can Chord for Scavenging Ooze. But that means we're not attacking, so I'm not going to attack. Because I want to hold up Blossoming Defense or Skoo's activation. Okay, opponent plays a Swamp and Smallpox. Alright, the time has come. X is 2. So we Chord. Get Scavenging Ooze. Because I think my opponent got rid of Batterskull. No, okay, I could have gotten a Stoneforge there, and that probably would have been better. So sack Vizier. Opponent sacks a land. Will sack, at this point, Gavany. We need as many Skoo's activations as we can get. Okay, opponent pluses Sorin. Passes the turn, so we are going to eat Silver Smote Ghoul. Untap. We draw birds. Eat Silver Smote Ghoul. Eat Plague Engineer. Eat... That's all my opponent's creatures out of their grave. I don't see anything else that provides them value from the grave. So we're going to eat Walking Ballista. Go to combat. Attack my opponent. This way, even if they play a vampire and sacrifice it to Sorin to gain 3 life, they don't really get any value out of that. And we play birds to have protection from edict effects. So my opponent has to have targeted removal that isn't damage based to kill Scavenging Ooze to win. And opponent concedes. All right. Round 4. All right. Opponent chooses to play first. We're going to keep this hand. A lot of value in this hand. Okay, opponent starts Snow-Covered Island and passes. We draw Teferi Time Raveler, play Windswept Heath, pass the turn. Probably actually should have started Misty Rainforest, just for bluffing purposes, but... Okay, fetch a Temple Garden, tapped, untap, draw another Chord, play Stoneforge, opponent remands. My opponent could be Storm. Play Flooded Strand, crack Flooded Strand. Temple Garden. Okay, I have no idea what my opponent is playing. This could be Bant Control, I guess. They play Teferi. They uptick Teferi. Okay, we untap. We draw Devoted Druid. So crack Misty for Breeding Pool. And as long as my opponent doesn't have Force of Negation here, Teferi is going to do work. Okay. Uptick Teferi. Pass the turn. I also see now that Teferi turning Finale of Devastation into an instant is pretty sweet. Okay, opponent plays an Uro. Upticks Teferi again. We untap. We draw Elvish Mystic. So uptick Teferi. Play Stoneforge. Get Batterskull. And play Elvish Mystic. We're going to try and draw out any Wraths or removal with this, so we can follow up with Devoted Druid combo, basically. Okay, opponent unsummons Stoneforge. Growth Spirals. They are not hitting their lands. Okay, opponent has to discard due to hand size. They discard Fact or Fiction. We draw another Teferi. Let's down tick and see if we can hit a land. I mean, that's almost a land. Go to combat. Attack Teferi. We're going to take our opponent off of one draw here. Play Devoted Druid. And Birds of Paradise. Pass the turn. Next turn, we will have infinite mana. Okay, opponent plays a Prairie Stream. Upticks Teferi. But they can't cast anything on our turn, so if they're going to cast something, they got to do it now. Wilderness Wreck. Okay. We draw Ladmurray's Call. Uptick Teferi. So we have to Chord X2 for Vizier. Okay. Make a bunch of mana. Okay. Play Stoneforge. Tutor up Viridian Longbow. Play Longbow. Equip. Ping our opponent. Untap. And the game is over. Alright, we stole a win versus Bant Control, though they did get... versus Bant Nexus, actually, though they did get a little bit mana screwed. Okay. So versus our opponent, we're going to bring in Veil of Summer. And we're going to drop... What are we going to drop? I think we drop Scooze and Postmortem Lunge. Try it like this. Teferi did real work that game. So I definitely don't want to go down Teferi. Alright, I can work with this, so I'm going to try. Opponent starts Misty Rainforest. Okay, we need to draw land, though. Okay, Batter Skull. Crack Misty. Get a Temple Garden. Play Elvish Mystic. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent cracks Misty. Gets a Hallowed Fountain tapped. They play a Snow-Covered Forest. Green-blue, and they play Search for Iskanta. Okay. We untap, we draw Arboreal Grazer. So, play Giver. Pass the turn. This might be cantrip mode Veil of Summer. Okay, opponent plays a Growth Spiral, which does give them their land drop for... Oh, no, they had him. Okay. They crack Misty, and they get a Temple Garden. Okay, we Veil. We get Chord. Untap. Draw Windswept Heath. So play Windswept Heath. Crack it. Get Breeding Pool. Untapped. We have a few different lines here, but I think the best one is playing Stoneforge. Get Viridian Longbow. And play Arboreal Grazer. No extra lands. Pass the turn. Leave up Giver. Okay, opponent plays an island. And Supreme Verdict. This doesn't do anything, but pro-white. That really sucks. Okay, we untap. We draw Ladmurray's Call. So pass the turn. We'll try and call on our opponent's end step. Search for Iskanta, not milling a card. They play Wilderness Reclamation. So we'll call, get Devoted Druid. Okay, opponent untaps their own lands. Draw Razor Verge Thicket, so play Thicket. Play Devoted Druid, 4 mana. Cryptic Command, counter draw. Okay. Play Longbow, pass the turn. They're going to have Iskanta Reclamation very soon. They play Teferi, tick up Teferi, pass the turn, untap their lands. Oh, is this Nexus? If it's Nexus, we're in a really bad spot. Oh, they're just scrying with Castle. Okay. 1 card on the bottom, 1 card on top. We untap, we get a birds. So play birds. Play Vizier. Pass the turn. On a Path's Vizier, get a forest. Okay. So with Teferi out, we have to be doing stuff on our own turn. When it takes up Teferi, probably activates as Kanta here. They float a bunch of mana. Activates as Kanta. They find Remand. Okay, they untap all their lands. Activate as Kanta again. They get Growth Spiral. So opponent is very quickly getting out of control here. We have to cast spells on our own turn. So we're going to start with one that we can cast through a Remand. Get Devoted Druid. Play Devoted Druid. Opponent's going to remand. Oh, they didn't remand. Okay. Pass the turn. 5 mana, Hour of Promise. Okay. To probably get like Field of the Dead. Yep. Alright, opponent makes a bunch of zombies. Problem is I don't see us resolving this Chord of Calling. We know they're holding a remand. They just unsummon Devoted Druid. Okay. Make more zombies. Growth Spiral. Get a land. Make more zombies. They attack for 4, no blocks. Or attack for 8, I mean. We go to 6. Activate as Kanta. Get a Factor Fiction. No reason for them not to main phase this. Put Path in a separate pile. Okay. They take Growth Spiral and Teferi and leave it in hand. So opponent is holding 2 remands, a Teferi, and a Growth Spiral. We draw Gavany. Yeah, we're not beating 2 remands. Okay. So we need a faster hand on the play. I think I am going to bring in Choke over Grazer and probably 1 Veil of Summer. My opponent does have things like Aether Gust and Escanta to get around the island tap, but I feel like having it is something extra my opponent has to deal with. Plus, if we play like a turn 2 Choke, they're going to be in a tougher situation. If we can curve Choke into like Teferi, they're really going to be sad. Alright, we'll play first. This is a faster hand, so we're going to keep. Start Misty, fetch, Temple Garden, untapped, play birds, pass. Okay, when it starts Breeding Pool tapped. We untap, we draw a Ladmurray's Call. So, play Waterlogged Grove, play Devoted Druid. Pass the turn. We are 1 piece away from just winning. Opponent plays a Hallowed Fountain untapped. Okay, we untap. We draw Stoneforge Mystic, which will give us a win, but not this turn. Play Forest. Pass. No, we Stoneforge Mystic. Okay. We'll go get Viridian Longbow. Pass the turn. Opponent Growth Spirals. That's fine. They put down a Glacial Fortress. And they Path Devoted Druid. Okay, so we're going to Ladmurray's Call. Get Devoted Druid. Path resolves. We'll get a Plains. Opponent untaps. They play a Forest. Play Wilderness Reclamation. Pass the turn, untap all their lands. We untap. We draw a Ladmurray's Call. Play Gavany. Yeah, try playing Devoted Druid. Opponent Aether Gusts. So we'll Veil of Summer. We draw Elvish Mystic. Oh, shoot. You know what? I'm very dumb. For some reason, I thought these gave your spells hexproof too. So that goes to the top. And we will play an Elvish Mystic. Are we going to play an Elvish Mystic, or are we just going to cast a Ladmurray's Call? I think we just cast a Ladmurray's Call. No, we don't, because that would shuffle away our Devoted Druid. So we're going to play Elvish Mystic. Pass the turn. That was such a waste of a Veil of Summer. I can't believe I got baited into that. Okay. Opponent Growth Spirals. They put an island into play. Floating mana. Untap all their lands. And they scry with Castle. We have enough mana to just go for the combo next turn, so I think we have to. We basically have to pray that was our opponent's last piece of interaction. Okay. Untap. Draw Devoted Druid. Oh, you know what? We can't go for it this turn because Devoted Druid doesn't have haste. Opponent is going to Aether Gust again. Okay, put it on top. They left a card on top. I really hope it's not a Wrath. Sack Waterlogged Grove. Play Devoted Druid. And attack for 1. So opponent left a card on top of their deck. Let's see what it is. Uro. They draw a card. No land. They sack Uro. Leave that on top. Aether Gust number million. Alright, they untap all their lands, which means they'll get to scry with Castle here. We're kind of hoping our opponent double bottom here on the scry. They didn't do it. Okay, we draw Devoted Druid. Play Devoted Druid. Go to combat. Attack for 2. Okay, opponent goes to 18. We pass. Opponent goes scrying. 1 card on the bottom, 1 card on the top. That is not what we wanted to see. Okay, well, it's not a Wrath. They escape Uro. Sure. They gain 3 life and draw. Okay, what they drew is not a land. They don't have to sacrifice it. They're going to Path Devoted Druid. Okay. Get a forest. So we're going to try an Aladmaris Call. And at this point, yeah, we'll still get Devoted Druid. Okay, opponent untaps all their lands. We draw Chord, which is excellent. Play Devoted Druid. Opponent Cryptics. There's nothing we can do about that. So they counter Devoted Druid. No attacks. Pass the turn. Opponent plays an island. Hour of Promise. Okay, so they're going to get a bunch of zombies. Yep. They go to combat, they attack for 6. Gain 3 life, draw a card. Put a land into play, get more zombies. So we'll block. We're going to Chord X2 just in case of Censor. Alright, opponent fetches Misty Rainforest. Do they seriously have a counterspell? Wow. Okay. Untap all their lands. We untap and get a Walking Ballista. So play Longbow. Play Walking Ballista. Okay, pass the turn. But I don't think at this point we can do anything. Man. Opponent had 3 Aether Gusts, drew a minimal number of cards. I mean, we were right on the cusp of the combo for a very long time. If we had ever untapped with a Devoted Druid that didn't have Summoning Sickness, we probably would have won. But our opponent had just the right cards to delay us. And I mean, like, their entire deck is cards that delay us, right? But, like, the fact that it was Aether Gust and not Remand made a huge difference. Okay, opponent takes the 3 cards, plays a land. Now they're holding a Remand. They go to combat, and they attack with everybody. They gain life, they play another land, more zombies. So we block here. Ping a zombie twice. Porter, you are fine. You can wait a minute. No blocks. No other blocks, I mean. Go to 2. Opponent fields Gavany. We are out of basics. Extra brutal. Okay, Opponent untaps all their lands. And there's no single card that wins us the game because we're not like halfway to the combo or anything. And even if there was, our opponent would have a remand. So, okay, we untap. Draw Elvish Mystic, and we concede. Sad face. Alright, I'll see you guys in round 5. Alrighty, welcome back to round 5. Let's try and win our entry back, shall we? Alright, we have half the combo, we have a tutor, so we're going to keep. We also have a post-mortem lunge, sort of a little bit of a redundancy backup. Okay, opponent starts Castle Garenbrig tapped. So this looks like a Primeval Titan deck of some kind. We are going to start Razorverge Thicket, Elvish Mystic. Okay. Opponent starts Amulet of Vigor. So yeah, definitely some kind of bounce land primetime combo, it looks like. Arboreal Grazer. So this does get them up to enough mana to Asuza if they've got it, which is a little bit of a problem, as that likely means they will continue comboing off. Dryad, okay, that's not as bad. We untap, draw Windswept Heath, so play Windswept Heath, pass the turn. This way we can leave up Blossoming Defense if we have to. Okay, opponent plays Field of the Dead, untaps it, and a Simic Growth Chamber, untaps it. They have enough mana to activate Castle Garenbrig. They bounce the Growth Chamber. Okay, so this doesn't look like a prime time. Elder Gargaroth, okay. So it didn't look like a prime time to me. Okay, opponent attacks for 2. That's fine. No blocks. Let's Eladmari's Call, get Devoted Druid. Fetch with Windswept Heath. We will get a Temple Garden tapped. Untap. We draw Scavenging Ooze. Not super helpful at this time. Play Misty. Play Devoted Druid. Pass the turn. Yep. Probably should have played Nurturing Peatland, but I think this is fine. I'd rather deck thin first, because we're going to have excess mana next turn. We know our opponent's hand is Bounce Land, 1 unknown card. Okay, so Summoner's Pact. Our hand's a lot better than Bounce Land, 1 unknown card. It's Bounce Land Primetime. Okay. So opponent plays the Bounce Land, untaps it. So we have 2 draws to hit a way to kill our opponent, provided they don't have some weird, janky way of killing Devoted Druid this turn. Okay. Down comes Primeval Titan. So opponent still has 1 land play left, meaning they can Hanweir Garrison and Valakut. Okay. They can give Primeval Titan haste, and that kills us. Yeah, that definitely kills us here. Because that's... yeah. They just, they'll deal 6 damage off of the lands entering. And even if they didn't target it at us and kill us immediately, even if they targeted Devoted Druid, they could just replay the bounce land because they haven't played enough lands this turn, and that would kill us because of their creature. Okay. So we're bringing in paths. Choke is kind of funny versus the Dryad guy, but I don't think I'm actually going to be doing that just because it's a little narrow. I'm going to drop a Postmortem Lunge, and I'm going to drop to Fairies and bring in paths, and yeah, we're going to call it good. Okay, we'd love to play first. This hand's okay. It's not amazing, but we do have a little bit of interaction with our opponent. So start Windswept Heath, fetch Temple Garden, untapped, play Birds, pass the turn. Opponent plays Radiant Fountain, goes up to 22. Amulet of Vigor, passes. We draw Giver of Runes, so play Forest, play Stoneforge Mystic, tutor up Batterskull, play Giver of Runes. We're probably going to play more of an aggressive game here, which is not good versus what our opponent's doing. But we have none of the combo and a Batter Skull. So, okay, opponent plays a Simic Growth Chamber, untaps it, 3 mana, bounces Radiant Fountain, plays Dryad, plays another Growth Chamber, untaps it, floats mana, bounces Growth Chamber, plays Grazer. Okay, so they're going up to 3 mana, which could mean Azusa, could mean another Dryad. Blue-red, and they stomp the Stoneforge. Okay, so the opponent will be able to cast a Bone Crusher Giant next turn. We draw Windswept Teeth, so play Misty, pass the turn. Looks like our opponent also kept a bit of an interactive hand, but Giver of Runes is nice because it does protect us from any single removal spell, and will allow us to get in with Batter Skull. Okay, so opponent plays Breeding Pool and gets it untapped for free. Summoner's Pact. Okay. Opponent plays a Growth Chamber, untaps it. Probably bounces Radiant Fountain at this point. Yep. Plays Primeval Titan. Okay. In response to the trigger, we're going to Path, because if my opponent gets like Field of the Dead, Valakut, this is slightly better, I think. Okay, they get a Forest. They untap it. Okay, Primetime's trigger goes off. They can probably get a Growth Chamber Talaria West if they want to get another Summoner's Pact, though I don't think they want to play it this turn, because they can't play Primetime again, and that would make them pay 8 mana, and I don't think they have 8 mana to pay. Okay, this opponent is going to Valakut, Giver of Runes, Valakut Birds, untap their lands. So Valakut, being a land, is colorless, so we're going to give Birds protection from colorless, which feels weird because Valakut's trigger is red. Looks like it's red. Okay. Fetch up another Temple Garden tapped. They untap their lands. Bird should survive. If it doesn't, I'm going to be like, Moto. Okay. Bird survives. The old gotta give it protection from colorless to protect from Valakut trick. Okay, opponent attacks for 2. That is not colorless, so we're not going to block. Then they probably play Bone Crusher Giant out of exile. There's the Bone Crusher Giant. Alright, we untap. We draw Walking Ballista. So, shock Breeding Pool. Play Batter Skull. Batter Skull is significantly worse here because we don't have Giver anymore, so we can't guaranteed swing in. We might have to trade it with Bone Crusher Giant, but my opponent does have a fetch land activation. If my opponent can play a land, then fetch, they can kill Batter Skull before we attack. Then we'd have to like suit up Birds, which wouldn't be bad because then it'd be a 4/5 Flying Vigilance. They play a land, they shoot Batter Skull. They play another land, they shoot Batter Skull, and now they can fetch and kill Birds. Just have like a pocket Lightning Strike. Alright. They get another Primeval Titan, and that's just going to kill us. So, scoop it up. Well, that's kind of a disappointing end. We get 50 play points. So, hang on, if I can bring the event back up. So, we should have won versus Dimir Death Shadow. I punted that round entirely by not fetching 2 white-green sources. I figured life total was going to matter, so I fetched a basic, and I absolutely should have fetched a Temple Garden, because we would have won that game had I done that. Because we could have given Giver of Runes haste, and then swung in with a hasted Vizier with protection from Black, I think, which was our opponent's only untapped creature. Yeah, so we should have gone 3-2. Any of the matches that we went 1-2, we easily could have won, just with a slightly different sequence. So I'm going to chalk this league up to pilot and experience. I don't think I showed this deck off in its absolute best, and budget concerns. Because there were several games where if we had had Noble Hierarch or even Gilded Goose over Elvish Mystic, we would have had a better shot, because our mana would not have been so restricted. So, if you need to substitute Noble Hierarch, you should use Gilded Goose instead of
Elvish Mystic. I just don't have Gilded Geese, so I didn't do that either. I did think about it though. And yeah, even with budget concerns, so like minus the Giver of Runes, minus the mana base, and playing Chord instead of Finale, because like Teferi is not mandatory in this deck either. The actual core combo for this deck is like $10 on Moto. So if you want to play this deck in a budget version, you absolutely can. And I think it's powerful enough to actually win a lot of games. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this content. I know I did. I will be playing another version of this probably in the future. Not sure when. Kind of depends on how popular this video is. But if you like this content, please leave a like, drop a comment, let me know how I did, let me know what I did wrong, let me know what choices you would have made instead of me. Subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined, and remember that you can follow me on Twitch, same username on Twitch as you find me on here. I stream Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, which is 8 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. You're all wonderful human beings, and thanks for watching. Bye!